Oh, yeah. All right. So here we are with wonderful Alyra Rose, who I have known for a long time. We were just talking about where we first met, which apparently was Lark in the Morning, which a lot of people who are watching this probably know, an incredible international music and dance camp. And it was there that I first heard your beautiful voice with your friend in the woods for a week, learning and exploring. And then through social media, I have been watching you post this like just your developments of your music and the things that really inspired me. Well, first of all, your these beautiful guitar songs and these lyrics that what you're singing and creating, your beautiful voice, and then watching you rap doing these incredible lyrical expressions. And I am like an inspiring rapper too. I often want to express myself with words and with rhythm. I tend
Yeah.
to be expressive in body, and I love to sing. And so when I saw that you were doing this alchemy of song and this retreat, all about like the somatics and the experience and the feminine and the essence, I just was like, okay, this is a healing road. This woman is a healing road for the people who find you and are around you. And so just looking forward to getting into that conversation. So welcome.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you so much. So
Absolutely
happy to be here.
to have you get a little bit of the Mexican vibe through the computer.
Woo!
So, why don't you start by telling us, like, what is alchemy of song?
Alchemy of song is just, it's kind of just been a journey that I feel like I've been on in my life. My journey with music and creativity, and just realizing the power of music and the creative process to alchemize our heart emotions. And when I started learning about shadow work later on in my life, but I reflected on it and realized that I was doing shadow work before I knew what it was. And yeah, I love the creative process. I love being in it. And like, I feel like we just have so much power. We have so much access to like this power within us. And it blows me away all the time. And it's just such a powerful way to release energy and reflect on ourselves. And like, just for me, is just find my own self-empowerment and like come out of really challenging times in my life. And I just want to share that with everyone. And it's been so profound for me. So that's
Wow.
what it means to me.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I want to hear all about the pieces. I heard the shadow work, and that part really stuck out for me. I'd love for you to talk a bit about that. And while you do that, I'm just going to step away from the screen, but everyone else can keep listening. So, yeah, tell us more about that, kind of how that worked through it.
Shadow work.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I feel really passionate about the fact that a lot of us are living in kind of like, well, our subconscious, I feel like our subconscious mind can really run our lives. And I feel like we are where we are in the world in a kind of chaotic time to be alive. I mean, maybe it's always been kind of chaotic, and but I feel like the more we show up for this work, the more we can look at things and face things head on and transform. And I just feel so passionate about that work. And there's so much more information coming out these days, like about really recognizing trauma. And actually I'm here in Mexico right now, and I'm at this resort, this eco resort called Playa Viva. It's a regenerative hotel, and we just had this incredible yoga teacher come through, Sean Korn, and she teaches trauma informed yoga, and it just really reminded me, like, it's a whole body experience. It's like we can get to it, like you said, healing roads. There's so many ways to get there, but through our body, and recognizing where we hold trauma in our bodies, in our hearts, and our minds, and having the courage and the tools to face it and transform it, and like, and be free, be like, just be more present and alive, and like to show up for our lives.
I love that. So I'm in complete agreement, of course, and alignment. And like the tools and the courage to face it, like what are the ones that you are learning and the ones that you use? Maybe even ones that you did use and stopped using, you know, because I know we
Yeah.
sort of progress as we're developing.
Yeah. Well, I think for vocal, I feel like I love movement and sound and music and those together. And
Me too.
for sound, for starters, I love learning about the body. I've studied massage therapy and yoga, and then also like connecting all of those together with sound, and realizing how the body works, and understanding our vagus system, our vagus nerve. It's like the captain of our nervous system. You know, we're either in fight or flight or rest and digest. And I realized at an early age I was self-soothing through music and sound, and realized that, you know, it's a way to calm the nervous system. And when you're breathing, when you're singing, belting it out in the shower, wherever you are, you're breathing, you're using your diaphragm, you're oxygenating your blood. It's like, you know, bringing life force energy, prana, into your cells, you know. And for most of us, if we've lived in trauma states, we're shallow breathers, we're like not present, we're in our minds, we're not in our bodies.
Yeah.
And I know, and for me, I had asthma growing up, and I still feel like I have trouble breathing, but sometimes. And movement, yoga, and song and singing helps me breathe and come back into my body and my belly, and helps my digestion. Like, who doesn't have digestion issues these days? Like, with everything that we're like overwhelmed with, and digesting and taking in. So I love like, even I do that a lot. Sighing is such a beautiful way to just
And it's one of the first
come
things
back.
in like singing lessons. Often it's one of the first things we do. I want
Yeah.
to take a quick pause because for our internet, I want to just make sure we have a really strong connection. So I'm just going to do something. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So coming back with stronger internet. We were talking about life force and breathing, song and movement and yoga. And I just, you know, for me, for the lens, you know, of my experience and my woes of living in this world and culture, I feel like we, it starts to become, you have to be careful with words sometimes, you know, there's these different boundaries and, you know, racial, you know, I want to be, you know, gentle, but there is a truth that, you know, white America, we really are missing out, you know, with Black America still actually has a lot of like life and dance and, you know, spirit and all these things that bring in the breath and help with trauma, movement, and all these things. And the reason why I bring it up is because I was talking to my one friend, this amazing musician, gospel drummer, and R&B singer, player, you know, African American. And I was talking about music and dance and how other countries around the world have it. All these countries and cultures I've been to have it, and we don't. And he goes, well, we do. And in that moment, I realized what our differences were, was the ways that we were raised. You know, he's in Black African American churches and all of this, right? And I was raised in and out of that, but you know, I'm raised more as like, you know, a white Jewish woman. And so in that moment, I realized, well, it's not American. There are these subcultures, but
Mhm.
in general, having studied, been around the world and then studied international music and dance, even in this country, you
Yeah.
realize how much breath, I mean, in the Balkan music, being able to harmonize with the other women or a full community of, all folks, or
Mhm.
a mixture of singing your song while holding hands and moving, I mean, this helps
Mm.
with digestion, it helps with your trauma, it helps gather you. So it's so amazing actually that I just love to always look through that lens that it's been happening forever. It happens
Right. Mhm.
And I find it fascinating,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me more about the movement. You're doing something right now, right? In Mexico with, or did you just get completed with a kind of integration of yoga and music, or?
Yeah. Well, yeah, just to comment on what you just said, I love what you were just saying. And there's a good, I can't remember who wrote it, but this elder woman was talking about like in these times of great change and struggle, like look to the cultures, like the native cultures, the Black cultures, the Latin cultures, like look how they dance and they sing and they move their bodies, and like that that is the revolution in our bodies. And I forget how they say it, but like, yeah, I love that. And it's always been a part of life, like
Yeah.
that ritual, that singing together, coming together, and in training our voices in our bodies. We have mirror neurons in our brains that like, when someone cries on the screen, we cry, and like when we're together, that's why like sound is so powerful, because we start breathing together, we start moving together, and we literally like tune our bodies, and we release energy, stored energy. And there's so much information coming out nowadays. I think the health scientists and like the health world's finally catching up to what mystics have known and been trying to tell us, that like um that oh, I just lost my train of thought.
We were talking about how
That
the scientists and the health people, they're finally coming to terms, realizing about
yeah,
movement and
that the body is oh, I can't remember what it
talking about
was.
mirror neurons and just the connection of just these things that
Well,
cultures
that
have.
we know how to heal our bodies, and that trauma, or and like these these places where we lose ourselves, oh yeah, create disease. Like these stored emotions create disease. And it's not always, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but like that connection, like when the body says no, Gabor Mate's book, it's like over and over again, he has these stories of these people that have certain traumas in their life and create end up working through like ALS or like certain issues. And it's a sensitive topic, because then it gets to like, oh well, you're blaming us for having this getting these diseases. And it's not a victim blaming, it's I believe it's empowering, because it's like we can take our power back if we have the courage to look at things and face them. Then we can take our power back and change our life and
Yeah,
live our full potential.
right. And that part of it, a lot of it, is actually, like you said, taking our power back, realizing that we have a voice, and that humming does more than just make a sound, that there's vibrations, and just even like thought, humming, vibrations, lullabies, singing to yourself, singing with others, what that creates, harmonies, the rhythm that happens, what happens in your body, how that helps your spinal fluid, how that helps your digestion. I mean, it's like there's this
Yeah.
level of connection of sound and movement, breathing, that it seems to have been stripped from a lot of us, in the Western world. Um, and but it's still within us, and there's so
Mhm.
many other cultures that it's so ingrained within them that it's ingrained within the, I call them like the thresholds, like the weddings and the baby ceremonies, the mournings, the funerals, all these things, like it's ingrained. So whether they think about it consciously or not, I'm sure that, of course people still get disease, they get this and that, but there is, in certain cultures, um just songs that everybody knows,
Mhm.
movements that everybody knows that they do
Yeah,
times, and that it's connected to, that the
yeah,
power that we have as individuals and community to like
right.
to keep ourselves healthy, heal ourselves, help the process, that we're not helpless. You don't just
Exactly.
go to the doctor, this and that. Everything has its place, right? So
Yeah.
um so the singing and the breathing and the yoga and this movement, like what's been your experience with the people that do it? And do people feel fulfilled? Do they feel like it's a culture? um
Yeah.
just
Well, yeah, we did the first vocal liberation last summer, last September, and that was really profound with my sisters Gina Renee and Sarita and Tristar. And it was in Northern California, Gayatri, beautiful land. And I'm just always so moved. It's a lot. We've been focusing with women because there's a lot, as women, we're finding our voices again from the historical trauma that our bodies and spirits have endured. And, there's a lot of tears that get shed. And I hear stories over and over again of women like being told at some point in their life, like, you know, you shouldn't sing or you're tone deaf, and like getting shut down, and then never like picking it up again and like internalizing that, and like and no, and we all do that. How many of us have like carried some moment and we're still carrying that in our bodies? And when do we give ourselves permission to release that and move forward and um yeah, let that go so we can create a new story? And yeah, there was a lot of women. It was just cool to see, in a 5-day container, like it's one experience compounding on another. So it felt like a medicine journey. Like it felt like almost an ayahuasca ceremony, but like, like the medicine was the music and the sound and the movement and the stories and the sharing. And we each had our own day where we shared different like vocal techniques, and I shared alchemy of song, and we got on the microphone. And we I love looping. Live looping, I feel like, is a really cool tool that I've used to like create a trance, and then it feels like I open up this portal, and like words come out and sounds come out, and like you're just vibing and you're grooving, and rhythm comes out. And when you can loop and you say a phrase over and over again, and it becomes like a mantra, like there's a technology of mantra to reprogram our hearts and minds to a higher vibration. And yeah, and it's so cool to see people let go. And it's like we get in our prefrontal cortex, which is all about the judgment mind, and like it's not the creative brain. And so we literally have to find ways to like kind of mellow that out and really be open to making mistakes and being truly authentic. And that's another big piece, is we have to, I feel like creativity, you bring your whole self to the game. All your tears, all of your anger, you feel it when someone shares their effing soul, and they lay it down, and it hits you like an arrow and cracks you open. And I love that. And like to get to that point, I'm feeling fired up.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a willingness to show up fully and bare your soul to the world. And it's fucking vulnerable. And, you know, it's scary as hell, you know, because it requires true vulnerability and a willingness to look at yourself, all of yourself, and be seen. And, you know, it's a lifelong journey for all of us here to be seen and witnessed and look at ourselves. And it's so powerful. And I just, yeah, I feel like we all have medicine inside of us. For me personally, I feel very connected to the songwriting process and like the words that come out, and I'm like, where did that come from? Like, it's so cool. It's like, this is a medicine for just me. And I believe that we all have that, you know. It's like ancient texts have always said, the medicine is within you, the answers are within you, like, you know, the book The Alchemy,
over and over again.
yeah. And it's like
those that want to control us, you know, and that's what's so interesting, right? Is that if they, you know, and I think that's what happens is we lose our power when we find out that, or we're under the impression, or we've been told, or we find out that it's not within us and I have it, or God has it, or, you
oh
know,
yeah,
society and whatever, right? And so then the opposite of that is just that reminder of like that it's within you. Every spiritual text that's not trying to control you is saying it's within you. And even the first part of Jesus, you know, the Jesus of the Christ love is, you know,
mm-hmm.
I'm within you, like the kingdom of heaven is within, you know,
Mm-hmm.
within. And so I just wanted to, you know, just spotlight that it's like you said, you know, the ancient texts say it. And
Yeah,
it's something to remember that just the level of the medicine inside ourselves, I just think is potent. And I feel
yeah,
like, you know, I always like to just kind of bring it up for folks that I know are kind of naysayers or don't completely feel a spiritual, you know, aspect, or think that something is too, you know, people use like, you know, different words like that's too hippie or that's too woo woo, you know, all these things where it's
mm-hmm.
like woo is actually apparently like the feminine healing woman in like the Asian culture, I just learned.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So woo woo is actually like not a nice, it's demeaning the true feminine
Wow,
magic alchemic nature, right? And like, you
that's
know, same with hippies, like hippies are actually wonderful, you know, beings of originally, you know, the original content.
right.
So
Yeah,
but with that in mind, like just for people who that I even know that I could think they could go, oh, well, that's how you think, but that's a little those words.
uh-huh,
Um,
yeah,
for people that think like that, it's like, well, just think about the fact that you have capacity to breathe, like,
yeah,
and you can actually notice your breath from that shallow breathing to bigger breathing, and
mm-hmm.
you know, and then just even that, and like what a sigh can do, why you yawn. It's like here's some biological things that just are,
Yeah,
and the words that you choose, you have a cadence that you're using. I mean, you just
mm.
could take it a bit differently to tap into your own creativity or write without judgment and connect into something without it being anything outside of your world of what
Yeah,
you know, what is too much, what's, you know, the on, you know, too left or too right, but just simply how much the medicine is inside ourselves in a most biological basic way. To me, I find that fascinating, and I love to just bring it back there because
yeah,
I'm all about I can go as extra as
yeah,
you want, and
yeah,
also find that that loses people. And
right.
so I really find it important personally to say, and you can also find it in a very um,
Tangible.
tangible, you know, like uh, scientific, you could even say, you know, like you said,
Totally.
science is now proving it, but also just like check out what you're doing. Have you noticed your breath once today or this week? Take
Yeah.
5 abdominal breaths. See if you can even do it. Does it hurt?
Yeah. Right.
Make you dizzy?
The body itself is such a miracle how it all works. And I did, so my mom was a science teacher growing up, and so she's very in the science mind. And actually, it was a funny story. We were parking, and I was parallel parking. She was in the car, and I kind of did it like just right, and I was like, oh, that's magic. And she's like, no honey, that's geometry. I was like, oh, that's classic.
That is
Like,
classic. And it's both.
and they're both right.
That's what's like just the most amazing thing, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm so fired up about, so we just had this big retreat. I told you Sean Corn was here, and she's she's incredibly well known, and like I started reading her book, and she has her stories of like how literally on the mat, you know, and she grew up in a religious home, and became very like not connected to it. And through yoga, she literally had like breakthrough after breakthrough through her body, and you know, memories would flood back, and like information would come, and the energy would release. And I got to take some of her classes, and every time I came, I was literally like crying or laughing out loud. You know, it's just like so authentic, and just talking about real stuff. And but one of the things she said is magic is shifting energy at will. And I
Mm,
love you know, our imaginations and magic and wonder. And I think we kind of get, the modern society has really kind of dampened that, like try to do everything we can to dissect and analyze and take apart and destroy the magic. And I think, well, I almost fell off my chair. um yeah, I'm like, I want to call that world back together. Maybe that we can live in harmony and like find a connection with those worlds. And
definitely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I do these weekly hypnosis talks with my hypnosis mentor. And
Oh, cool.
the last week we were talking about imagination, that imagination and imaginative play, it's not just for children, you know, and the
Yeah.
reality is that, I mean, that's what we get to do in dance, and that's what we get to do in song, right? But we definitely have to, and you know, the imagination and is where the most innovative things come from the imagination, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, you know, bringing it in and calling it in, it's like it's very hard to imagine and play if you're judging yourself. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
judging yourself, you are very likely shallow breathing, likely, and you
Right.
might be afraid of your voice, you know, and then you might feel afraid to move your body because, I mean, it's just, it's this whole level of connection. So, but the imagination and imaginative play is the change work. You know, when
Mm-hmm.
you're doing hypnosis work or any kind of change work, um, you're tapping into your imagination. You're tapping into, you know, not the judgmental one that goes, but you can't fly in a cloud. It's like, no, you're gonna take a seat. We're gonna just, you know, rational brain. You're just gonna go take a rest, and we're gonna just imagine what it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get into that imagining, and then you start to be able to imagine the life that you want and how it would feel, not
Right.
judging that it's not gonna this, that, all that stuff. No, that's, we are just an imaginative play zone, right? So that's,
Yeah.
you know, really the key place. And not only is it the key place for like within hypnosis,
Mm.
all the change work, but also the most innovative and brand names that we know of.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to their stories, all of them, it came from something that didn't exist. They imagined or dreamed it. Most people told them it couldn't
Mm.
happen. and they kept doing it until now it just is.
Right? Oh, I love that. That gives me chills.
Yeah, so it's really, really a beautiful thing. So
And
um
yeah,
go
part
ahead.
of that I feel like there's two and there's another piece where like so we use our imagination, and then the other piece is like to also accept where we are and and like clear the blockages and like be okay with where we are and like move the energy and because we don't want to like totally like just be living in fantasy world and like how to yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting to is like the shadow work of like exploring where you are and why things are and like really getting comfortable with the uncomfortable too, so we can make space to really get open up to our imagination and our dreams that are seeking us. What you're seeking is seeking you, and just like
So how do you
clear
do that?
those energies.
How are you doing that for yourself, and how are you holding space in your retreats and this work you're doing? How do you do it? Or like what
Yeah,
tools are you using? What ways are you exploring it? What have you noticed that works, you know?
a lot of it is being present to what like voicing what is there, what where the trauma is in our body, um what stories we've had, like giving it a voice, sharing that story, and being able to write it down and express it and release it. If we're holding it and carrying it, you can't change what you can't face. And there's not a lot of places in our world that we have the space to express that. We need more grief circles. We need like I felt that in Sean Corn's class. Like it was a safe container to fucking show up as I was and cry, and everyone was coming to the table and not trying to be anything more than what they were and where they were. And that alone, just being able to sit with that will help you release it, and then from there, then we can get more into like the creativity part and the visioning part and like and becoming the authors of our lives. And if we take our power back, how if you're writing your story, how do you want it to go? Like where do you want it to be? Where do you see yourself? Like what is calling you? And then feel it in your body and make those sounds and see it, and it's like a full sensory experience. And using sound, like in that trance like state to create a mantra or something that can call you there, because we retrain our subconscious mind, um because the conscious mind is, we're only functioning from like 10% of that, and the rest, our subconscious mind programming, is kind of running the show. Like those are our belief systems, our habits, and to get to that point, that's like we can tell ourselves so many things. We could eat the good food, we could do the yoga, we can do all the things and still see no change in our lives. So we literally have to get back into the programming um place where it's like a locked door. How do you get into there? And it's like with the tapes running, and sound can connect to your subconscious mind,
So
and
I
movement and
agree.
releasing.
Right, absolutely. So tell me more about like the sound, like what's your relationship to it? What are some of your favorite sounds?
Mm,
Let's start there.
yeah. I love I love I love ethereal sounds. I love like I think it's fun to work with effects sometimes, and just open your voice and see where it wants to go. And I love it when you can like have that surround sound and just play and sorry, my mind is going all over the place.
Okay.
Because I just remembered, like, I do feel like I was able to sing lower notes after I was able to after I had done some shadow work. And I noticed that in my life. And so releasing those energies, and I love getting into a trance, really, and then creating, taking a word or just little phrases and playing off of them and seeing where they go, and really listening. So it's kind of just like creating the space to call our muses in and listen to what wants to come through. You can put on like beats and like sing over them, or I like to encourage people to like constantly keep their fountain open. Like, it's like creativity is like a faucet or a muscle, and like you have to keep going back to the altar. You have to keep going back there to keep the flow flowing, and like, wherever you are throughout your day, like write little notes down to yourself. What's a little phrase? What did someone say? And then elaborate on that, and see where it takes you. And it's just constantly connecting to your self-expression, your free form flow. And then you can take those words and like put on a beat and start singing over them, and just see how it feels in your body, and make those sounds and sound silly and sound weird, and see where it takes you. And a lot of times you'll see it just, there's a message for you, and it's amazing.
Yeah, right on. I love that. I think that's a great like offering for someone to try out, to just maybe carry a little notebook around or use notes in your phone, and just find whatever way you can to listen to what's around you, and then at some point sit down with it and write some more and see what comes, and then take it to the next step and find some sort of track or beat, or you play the drum for yourself, or guitar if you can, but maybe just find what you can, and then just allow yourself to flow. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And every time you feel your judgment, then what do you do what do you tell people, and what do you do for yourself when your judgment comes?
Yeah. Well, it definitely comes, and it's an opportunity to get to know it and sit with it and feel it in your body. And you can either shrink or you can show up. And in our workshops, we have little circles, and we have a beat playing, and we get to like pass the mic and sing, and every, we all sound silly at some point, but it's a container, and we all, it's just giving yourself the opportunity, and keep showing up, and allowing yourself to be authentically witnessed, and feel it in your body and let it go, and not to take it on, and like, you make a mistake, and just like don't like don't wither in that, and like connect to that. Like, we're humans, we're here to make mistakes, so just keep showing up.
Well, I love that. I've never heard exactly shrink or show up. I think it's I feel like that's powerful, because it's like, here's two options.
And we're in a time too where we're kind of all over the we're in the age of Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto just moved into Aquarius, um and with that comes like we're kind of over the glamour of everything, like, and like the everything has to be so pristine, and like we're all craving realness and authenticity, and people like we're in a time, it's so, to me, with social media, we all have these channels and everyone's a star in their own world, and it's just, you can tune in, and it's not about any like major big celebrities, I think, anymore. Like people want real humans doing the work, showing up, making mistakes, sharing about it. And that's beautiful, showing your whole soul. And it's not always glamorous. And I think, I mean, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I think I like seeing that in people. And I think we all maybe want more of that. And when we give ourselves permission to do that, then we give other people permission to do that. And that's exciting. And I think it's also kind of cool to think about ourselves as like, maybe not all of us will have children, but if we are who are we doing this for? And like remembering what our why is, and are we here to, it's easy when we get stuck in the ego and like people judging us, and we're judging ourselves. But when we can step into the why and remember our creativity as an offering for the greater good, and my healing is your healing, and that can help us step out of our judgmental mind. And I know that we all have medicine for each other. We all have something to share. We're all needed right now to show up, and it's a really crazy time to be alive. We're all feeling this, and we all make a difference somewhere. We're all teachers to someone, and learning from each other. And so when we realize that we're all a part of a greater whole, and like the mycelium network, then it makes it easier, I think, to show up and show out. And tell me what you're all about.
Yeah, show up and show out. Yeah,
And
I feel you,
have
especially.
fun with it.
Yeah, especially I think that's a really beautiful kind of foundation to stand on, and a really good sort of like, atmosphere to walk in, that we're connected and we all have our, place. For me, when I hear you say that, I feel like that gives a level of permission and another way of perception of showing up, showing out, being you, expressing yourself in a way, so I like that.
Yeah.
I think it's nice imagery, and it feels healing. It feels like there's that capacity of healing, of that just reminder. Also, I have a special love for mycelium, of course.
Oh, we love our mycelium friends.
Yeah, just the soil and
Yeah.
how everything
Yeah.
works together, and how mycelium connects everything, and
Yeah.
and it's
And we
tangible
need diversity. We need diversity in the soil. We need diversity in our communities. We
in
need diversity in our guts. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, what are you here to bring? And I think movement and creativity, all these things give us an opportunity to self-reflect and be quiet, to listen to what it is that we're here. We're all a seed, like we're all a seed, and we're all blooming. And so the information is in the seed. It's already there. We have to like water it and listen to it. And
Well, so here's something. Well, I
talk
have
to
a
me.
few things I wrote down that I want to say, but let me just, on what you're talking about right now. So, what do you think as far as now? This is like, I feel like this is also needs to be treaded lightly and be heard in a way with, um, love. I don't mean disrespect, and not to you, but just to what I'm going to say, which is from my lens, like I mentioned before, I feel like there is an aspect of, white America, to be so, you know, whatever, yeah, that we have missed out on a big aspect of culture, that other countries really have, to a container of, of certain movement styles and certain singing styles, that then you can be your unique self within it. And I personally feel like, through my experience being an American white skinned person, that a lot of places that I ended up going to were festivals. And
Mm-hmm.
I found that people were expressing themselves, and that there's people on stage, and then there's the people watching them, and there's very little interaction, or interactions kind of like tend to be kind of around drugs, where then you're kind of noodling with each other and all of that. And there is beauty within it, there's connection within it. I don't want to disregard it, but for me, it didn't it felt very different than these other cultures that, of course, I'm not from, so I have a different lens, where it felt like they had these containers in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I'm personally always, I have this, I've had this just strong vision inside myself forever, that I want to inoculate our culture here with some of these beautiful spores from around the world, in a way that is respectful and doesn't hit the, um what do you call it when they say you're taking from other culture, appropriation, but more just like in that mycelium way of like, I feel like there is some, personally, I feel like there's some stuff, there's space for this, festival and healing type communities that are happening. I feel like there's space to develop a bit more of a container,
Mm-hmm.
familiarity, familiar movements, familiar songs, familiar ways to hold hands, to go up in voice, so that we're all not such individual beings.
Mm-hmm.
Like staying individual while having a shared something more. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious, like
Huh.
what your take and feeling is on that.
Yeah. All right, going deep, girl. All right, so let me see. I do, yeah, so I know what you mean. Well, okay. So I do feel like there is something. I've gone to a lot of festivals over the years, and I do feel more called to like more intimate, like intentional gatherings and spaces to that have containers that feel nourishing to my soul and not just like depleting anymore. And I do feel like, as I think, as a world, as a one world tribe with all of our different expressions, we are, I think, clumsily finding this way to interconnect. And like, I feel like there are more festivals that are bringing in the indigenous voices and that have those containers, and that's really powerful, and I'm so happy for that, because we all have our medicine to share. And um I remember going to Standing Rock, back in the day, 2016, and that was a very powerful experience. And I did attend a couple of the it was in the dome, it was a decolonization meetings, and there was these Native women that shared with us, and I just still remember this aspect of, the white culture can we do have tradition, we have music, we have all these things in our cultures, in our blood, and we were colonized even before all these other cultures have felt it, and before we, the white culture has inflicted that on the world. And what they were saying was encouraging, instead of us always going to other cultures and wanting to receive them, like coming with something to trade, like, oh, this is like going back and seeking the understanding where you come from, and maybe, like doing that work to go back and have something, don't show up with an empty cup kind of idea. And that was powerful, because I feel very disconnected from my ancestors and family and those things. And I've also gotten to a place in my life where I feel like there's a lot of division in the world and right now, and a lot of people amped up and ready to like cancel culture each other. And I grew up in a family that's very connected to like front lines work, and I feel like I'm ready. This is my own personal place, and I don't want to offend anyone either, but I'm ready to like stop with the labels, and actually remember that we're all here on this planet Earth together. And like I've come to a kind of like a flip the switch 180 of where I used to get so triggered, and people impersonating the indigenous culture, and like obviously like I have no room in my life for people that want to profit off of other cultures that aren't theirs for them. Like I'm not here for capitalism or any of that BS. But I feel like media is using a lot of these terms to get us more separated, and I really want to find the connection points. And we all have medicine to share, and we all love other cultures. It's all a melting pot now. We show, like, being a human is like showing up to a party that's been going on for centuries, and like there's cake everywhere, and people without the like stumbling on heels, and it's like we're all trying to figure this out together. If you believe in past lives, like who knows how many like lives that we have been in other cultures, other forms. And maybe that's a weird thing to say, but I'm
No.
ready to I want to find more places of cohesion and understanding, and reverence, and get out of these places of conflict. And of course it's such a sensitive subject, because people also are still dealing with trauma in their bodies and haven't had a place to share and be seen in the pain that they carry, that is so effing real, and that I don't have the understanding of on a lot of these levels. And I am aware of that, and that's why I think this work is so profound. I feel like if we all show up to looking at our trauma, where we hold it in the body, we can stop projecting it onto other people, and like do our own inner work, and come to the table more whole and holy, and not feel like we're all just being called to show up now. And yeah.
I agree that there's definitely a call, and there's definitely opportunity for us to do that. And I want to just really highlight the connection points. I think that that's really beautiful, because seeing our differences is potently wonderful, to keep that we don't get homogenized. However, seeing our similarities, like I heard you say over and over again, that we're like humans having this experience, right? Ultimately, and just that like mycelial connection that's just biological and real. And connection points, in regards of like, um, you know, is it Songs of Alchemy? Tell me the name, I'm sorry.
Alchemy of Song. It
There,
kind of
thank you.
is,
Alchemy of Song, you know,
it's alive, so it changes.
of course, but like with Alchemy of Song, everything else you're doing and, the work that I'm inspired to do, there's the connection points, right? So there is a way to not take, especially empty handed. There's a way to not homogenize. And there's a way to really see our similarities while seeing our differences and finding the connection points, which I notice some of them are um, our voices in unison and in harmony, the the witnessing and being witnessed,
Mhm.
a performer and an audience member, and being a active audience member. There's
Mhm.
something really potent about being an active audience member, participant, opposed to just like a someone who's watching. And then the connection points, the hands, when we hold
Mm.
hands and dance, whether that's partner dance, line dance, you know. And so those are some of the things I was thinking of when you said that. And I think
Yeah.
um, the connection points is beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're yeah, and I feel called to share too. Like I think the self-awareness piece, there's a Sanskrit word in yoga called svadhyaya, which is called self-study. And it's like these when we take time to do yoga and like practice and move our bodies and breathe and notice, we become a witness to our experience and what's coming up, what emotions and um and I feel that with creativity too. Like when you witness what are you writing about? Or what is the story? Where is it going? What emotions are coming out? And just that self-awareness piece, a part of this brings like another level of to the transformational work. And that like when we can look and witness and not react, then we have those opportunities to like make more connection points and heal and show up fully, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. Really like the noticing and the listening. Um, you know, it's said that listening is a much stronger part of conversation than the speaking, and
Mm,
we listen with attention without waiting to speak our own mind. It's very different. And I think also when we notice and pay attention to ourselves, there's so many ways that we can do that. Is it the I looking at the me, or is it the judgment looking at the body, or is it the the experience itself, which is the witness? I mean, there's many ways for us to just kind of sink in and notice, but it does seem like a lot of the magic and the healing and the connection comes from noticing without
yeah,
judgment and
yeah,
right, and then you have the opportunity to hear your own creation in your own inner voice, which is what I'm hearing you say.
yeah. And
Yeah.
doing it for yourself too. And and like
Right.
just starting with yourself for your own, like it doesn't have to be for anybody else but you in this moment to express. Like if you want to sing in the shower and like just that, like it doesn't have to be performative for anyone else but you. And in that moment, that's when the magic comes.
Yeah.
And
And the other side of that is that it can actually be for others, but in a different way than what I feel like we're used to, which is like people go, "Oh, I can't dance and I can't sing." And it's like, I'm not asking you to be an opera singer in front of 100 people, 1,000 people, or, getting on a stage and in a costume and being a dancer. There's an element of just being able to show up within your community and bring a song that might help in a moment, or even like a movement that helps in a moment, there's and that's like my hope and goal is to find ways to help facilitate that for us, that when somebody brings it, that we as the community around have a shared understanding how to be an interactive like participant in the experience,
Yeah.
which I feel like, the Black church really does that really, really well, like when, and it shows up in various other aspects of the culture, personally, like I'm really impressed by that. And then of course you can,
So powerful.
it is, and I can see it in like a lot of Egyptian culture and various Roma cultures I've been to. You
Wow.
definitely,
Yeah.
it's definitely in a lot of places still, but within this country, I do see it a lot within that. So there's a real power of, like you're saying, just do it for yourself, but also for us to create safer and safer spaces to say, if you show up, I know how to hold the space for you to feel comfortable to express yourself. And
Yeah.
I feel like that is another component of the work personally,
Yeah.
you know
Totally.
do you have a song or something you'd like that we'd love to hear before we end our conversation today?
Yeah. I'll just share a little spoken word piece
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
that yeah. And the last, I know there, I just feel like I want to talk to you forever, but
We can always do
I
more sessions. This could be part,
yeah.
but please speak,
I remember that yeah, I just think it is so fascinating for women, especially that our vocal cords are connected to our wombs. Like when you see the picture
oh, yeah.
of our vocal cords in our womb, our yonis, our magical portal, and like the tremendous amount of pain that we carry there and the tremendous amount of healing that happens when we heal our voices. We can heal that part, and that's just so powerful to me. And I would like to understand more how it's connected, because I'm sure it's the same for men in some way, but I'm just used to seeing the pictures for our lady parts and our vocal cords. And yeah, just when we have jaw tension, maybe it's connected, and like just the microcosm and the macrocosm of it all. And like we never know what kind of impact this work can really have, and on ourselves and our communities and the world. um
Oh
so
yeah,
this
I completely agree. All right,
all right.
you ready? We're ready.
Mhm.
All right.
Take a breath here. The ocean's right here. I'm just feeling the breeze, sending it to you. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to be. I wake up every morning and give thanks for what's in front of me. Suddenly, luckily, doors open right in front of me. I change my perception and flowers bloom right under me. I call it self-discovery because I've been in recovery. I could write a summary, but I'd rather study archery. Shoot these arrows properly. Get this weight up off of me. Honestly, it's alchemy. I turn pain into soliloquies. Inwardly, I go so I can find my flow. You'll never know how high you fly if you're afraid to let go, afraid to get low. That's
Right on.
what I
I
got
love
for
that.
you.
Wonderful. I love that. Like the fun use of words too, which I just have to say, for anyone who's listening later, if you haven't heard Harry Mack yet, you got to also check him out because we're both inspired by his awesome flows, which we found out. And I would love to put all of the information that you have of your website and retreats and everything in the notes. But if you just want to take the last few minutes, any last words that you have, and then anything that's coming up or anything that you'd like to let people know about getting in touch with or checking out.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much for having me.
yeah, it's been so fun. So glad we
Um,
out.
yeah, I am excited. My girls, Gina, Renee, and Sarita and I are talking about putting together another vocal liberation retreat here in Mexico. I've been coming here, teaching yoga and doing massage for many years, and it would be a dream to host a retreat here. The land is just incredible. I've seen more whales like going by here than I have seen on the actual boat whale tour, and like it's in the wild. And I think Mexico feels like kind of like a mother to me, like kind of has helped me connect to my feminine nature again. And like I can't imagine a better place to connect to your voice than by the ocean, where you can literally sing and scream and yell into the ocean, and like no one will hear you and no one could judge you. And like, just feeling that energy. And it's also in the state of guerrero, which is warrior, and find that warrior goddess spirit within you. And so that's exciting. And if we have enough interest, we'll do it. If we don't, maybe next time.
I'm in.
And
One.
yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, that'll be like around February next year, February, March. And I'm also excited to keep finishing my album. I've been working on a lot of songs and learning how to produce. And it's been a couple of years in the making, and so excited to keep working on that and share that soon.
Wonderful.
It has its own life process, and life happens in between making all the plans. So,
Right.
but putting it out there, and yeah, and just I guess a couple words. Hmm. Hmm. I just encourage everyone to take a moment to keep connecting to their childlike play and creative wonder and magic and imagination, and nurture that spirit, and keep going to the altar and making offerings and to the muses, and get to know your muses, and they will come to you. If you go to them, they will come to you. And it's a really beautiful relationship that we all have the capacity to nurture, and so that we can all, step more into our free, full self-expression and live our fullest lives, and be free of the struggle, and create the life we want to live for ourselves, for our families, for our children, for the land, and release these painful stories, the old human stories. Who's ready? I'm ready.
I'm ready. That's great. All right. Well, all of the ways to contact you, and for people to be able to follow you and your music and know about your album, we'll put all that in the notes.
Cool. Thank you.
For coming to us from Mexico, and I just am feeling some of the vibrations, and I cannot wait to get there. And thank you for
Yeah.
and watching. If you have any questions for Alyra, you can contact her or me. You can find all that stuff through all the sources.
And thank you so much for what you're doing and showing up for your path and sharing your voice and your beauty, and hearing the call. And it's not always easy to show up and be vulnerable and heed the call. So I salute you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's so nice to continue to have the opportunity to express who I think are healing roads, and the fact that actually so many people that I know really are. Everyone just has such a unique artistic, creative way, and that they're all healing roads. And so it's I'm looking forward to keep on going.
Yeah.
All right, till next time, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Ciao. Mwah.
Ciao.